I'm recording just so you know. Got Isaac there going to check on some swans over here. Early season, well, it's probably summer for most of you already, but we still got snow and there's some ice out there on the lake. We're out here taking a look around. Last year, just less than a mile from here, we recorded those juvenile tracks. Hold on here. Sorry, I was all zoomed in. But yeah, we're out here to see what's happening. Looks like someone's been up and through here, but we're gonna go back to that twisted tree that you guys see in the opening credits and take a look, see what it looks like now, see if there's any other ones. If there's more of them like that, that's gonna be some trippy stuff, but we'll see. We'll get back to you here shortly. So back at the bent tree, I just wanted to show you there's no heavy equipment marks on the tree itself, but man, it's just it's real trippy how it's just twisted and only broken down here at the root, just pushing it over in between those two birch. Someone's over there having issues, but man, it's just,
well, the likelihood of it twisting and being shoved
right between these two, and if it was snow load, the trees would have peeled that off when it was going through. This was put there, in my opinion.
In person, it seems less likely.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell on video, but this is, I mean, this thing's been twisted and pushed over into this position. There's no doubt about that. Crazy. And you know, I mean, we could probably go around and find some other type stuff here. There's all sorts of different, I mean, if we're looking for structure stuff or, you know, stuff like that, it's all over. But if you want to see here, right back over there around that corner is Hatcher's Pass, Little Susitna River, excuse me. And right now we got a little river moving through here because of the snow melt.
And right across this swamp is where those tracks were last summer.
Yeah, or over this way, right?
Yep, like maybe a quarter mile.
Quarter mile over here is where those juvenile tracks are. But we're gonna take a look around. Last time I was here filming this tree, I was by myself and it was dead quiet. And I didn't want to be here.
That somebody's right over there shooting. But
yeah, we're gonna find a safer place to be. I don't want to have to fire back, but we'll catch you down the trail a little ways here. So Isaac was bragging he hasn't had to use the winch yet since he bought this, and looky. How does it feel, Isaac? First time you have to use your winch? Oh yeah, and we got skeeters as big as buzzards around here right now, early season ones. Uh-oh. Army helicopters are coming. They know we're here. I'm just joking. But yeah, we made it through this easy going that way, but coming back this way. Hey, use your winch, dude. Easy, killer. Easy, killer. Got to be careful. You can't let your bait get ideas and think for themselves. You got to keep your bait in the short leash. You did a great job, buddy. Can you run that in? No habla inglés. Hold on. All right, hold on. Let me grab it. No, not my first rodeo. It does its own level wind or no? No. Well, I'll do my best to level wind this piggy.
Back and forth, back and forth.
Of course, dude. Come on, I'm a fisherman, dude. Keep going. A little more. There you go. There you go. All right. Well,
here we go.
Isaac the pro. He's a pro. But we'll get back to you a little further down the trail. Little stuck on the side of the trail. Sometimes it happens in Alaska. You got to be prepared for it. Wheeler's over there just outside in the darkness right over there. Anyway, sometimes that's just what it is. But here's where we are. It's kind of dark outside of the fire there, but hey, we'll get back to you. Hey, greetings, Fred in Alaska. Thanks for joining me. Obviously we made it out. We're over in Moose Meadows. Got a little chilly overnight, got a little hypothermic, but we're all right. Made it okay. More excursions to come. Obviously, next time I'll be on my Polaris. But yeah, it was real weird. Still don't know what happened with the Honda. It was driveline or something was acting up. It was horrible. It was pretty dark out there. But anyway, what I wanted to share with you today, actually I'll just sit on the wheeler. It comes from Beverly. And what happened approximately not quite 10 years ago. So what ended up happening was Beverly was with her sister, and hold on, I'm setting up my little tripod here. So Beverly was with her sister, and they were outside of a village along the Kuskokwim River, and so Beverly had her 2-year-old son with her, right? And Beverly's sister, which we'll just refer to her as her sister, had her 2 kids, which were 15 and 16. So what they were doing was attempting to go and pick some berries and just spend time. They just got done with church. They had a family function, and no one else wanted to go with them. It was kind of dreary out. It was a little sprinkly, so no one was really interested in going to check berries just yet. Everyone was like, wait till after it rains, it'll be better. And they just wanted to get out, right? So Beverly takes the lead, and her sister's her older sister, and with the other kids, they were helping with the 2-year-old. You know, it takes a village. So the 2 older kids, both boys, were playing with the young boy, little 2-year-old, getting him to walk, getting him, you know, bouncing around on the tundra, just having a good old time. And so they ended up out on the tundra, just past the tree line. And she said her and her sister was just sitting down on one of the rolls of tundra, just watching the kids play. And the kids were about 40 feet in front of them. They were just doing silly stuff, just being kids. You know, and the 2 older boys were encouraging the younger boy to play and toughen up and all that kind of stuff. And it was just a very family-oriented time, and they were all having a really, really good time. So what ended up happening was as they were sitting there talking, her and her sister were having a conversation about health problems with a family member. And as Beverly was talking to her sister, Beverly is sister's off to her right-hand side, and she's looking out past the kids across the tundra. And she said it had to have been, you know, well over a quarter mile away. There's a bunch of black spruce because, you know, shortly after their little berry patch there, it turns into marsh, and then past the marsh, more tundra, and then this tree line of black spruce. And they're basically out in the open, and she's looking past them, and she'd been over there many times. She knows that the height of those trees are like twice her height, right? So, you know, the trees themselves are about 10 foot tall. So as she's sitting there watching, she noticed one of the trees. She initially thought it was a tree moving, right? And she thought that was the damnedest thing. And she knew beavers didn't do that. Beavers don't carry trees upright, you know. So excuse me, she's watching this, listening to her sister talk about concerns of, the other family member's health, and she's watching behind the kids, so she's zoned out, not even hearing her sister, and she's watching what she thought was a tree move along. I mean, can you imagine seeing something just big and black back here, just going across, Anyway, so she's looking at that, and no bells and whistles are going off at this point. She's just like, what the hell am I looking at, kind of a thing. And so she tells the kids, hey, come over here, come closer, because again, they're about 40 feet away, and she started getting an uneasy feeling, and she gets her sister's attention, and she starts pointing at this, assumed it was a tree moving, right? And so they both look, and she's telling her, the younger boys, well, older than the 2-year-old, obviously, the 15 and 16-year-old, they started looking that way, and they ran back over, and one of them was carrying the little boy, and they come back over to him, and they're like, what is that? And they're all trying to figure it out, because at the distance it was, they couldn't tell. It was just black, and it looked, it was tall as the trees, if not a little taller, and it was moving, on that tree line. So she didn't know what to do. Because they didn't feel any threat. There was no noises being made at that point. And so her and her sister stand up, and they start looking, and they're trying to get a better look. So what they were doing was cutting off to the left and trying to get a little closer to see if they could make out what it is. Because again, they're at a safe enough distance. They don't feel any immediate threat, right? Well, her sister was carrying a pistol. It was just a .357. And a little 5-shot snub nose, according to what Beverly said. And as they're walking, her sister had dug it out and just had it, ready just in case, because they didn't know what they were looking at. Well, the 2 boys said, we're faster, we'll run closer, we won't get too close, but we'll run closer, see if we could see what it is, and then we'll, come back so you guys can keep an eye on the baby. So they're like, Beverly's sister was like, go ahead, boys, go ahead. And Beverly was objecting to that. She didn't want kids going to identify something, right? But, her sister was like, you guys just go a little further over that way and see if you can get a better look. They do so. They run over there. Not anywhere close to it. Just, maybe 40 yards from where they were. Not even half the distance, not even a third of the distance, But the boys stop, and they're looking, and Beverly and her sister are watching the 2 boys looking at this thing. And as they're doing so, it was going from their right to their left, and this thing had stopped. And they couldn't really make out what it was doing, but it looked like it was moving. Again, at the distance they were at, they could not really make sense of what they were seeing, except this thing was big, and it seemed to be like swaying like the wind was blowing, right? So, God, that's creepy. Anyway, so as they're watching, the boys, they start yelling, hey, who is that? Hey, who is that? Right? And Beverly's sister chimes in and says, hey, don't yell at people. You don't know who that is. Don't yell. And again, they didn't even know if it was a person or not. The boys were a little closer, and they said its arm is up. It's holding its arm up like it's waving, right? They were kind of confused because no one in the village was that big. So Beverly's sister starts screaming, get back over here, get back over here. And so the boys kind of chuckle and laugh, and they come back over. Sorry, damn bugs. So they come back over, and the whole time Beverly's watching this thing, and it didn't really move much. But as soon as the boys got closer to her and her sister, this thing went from their left towards their right, still in that tree line, just right behind the first row of trees, and it moved fast. She said it was like zip, it was over to the other side where originally she saw it. So at that point, her sister saw that, and they were like, let's go. We got to get out of here. So the boys, they're asking, well, what's going on? Well, what's going on? Why are we leaving? Why are we leaving? The boys weren't looking at this thing run that quick across there. Beverly was like, we got to go now. She got a real sinking feeling. And as they were turning, she kept looking back, and same with her sister. She had the boys take the 2-year-old and start ahead of them. and they hear whistling coming from over there, real sharp, real loud, high-pitched whistles, just real short and loud, just and powerful, coming from that direction. And they couldn't make out what kind of bird it was trying to imitate, because it was not making any kind of mimic. It was just real short, sharp whistles. So as they were kind of dumbfounded by what the hell is that's loud, you know what I mean? And we're talking a quarter mile. That's a little ways. You know, you're talking 1,000-foot plus. So this, you know, they're trying to figure out what the hell. So they're all kind of stopped there. You know, all the progress getting out of there stopped, because now they're intrigued at this whistling. Well, as the whistling's happening, their focus is over there. Well, back over to the left where this thing had stopped, and then ran back over to the original position where Beverly saw it. She said another whistle came from over there. And the whistle that came from where this thing was loud, but not as powerful. And it was almost identical to the whistle that the one in front of them made, right? And again, they you know, they heard about the hairy man. They, you know, it was never anything that was an immediate daily life type thing. They would hear hairy man stories now and then. So as they're talking, trying to figure out well, there's obviously two of them over there, and they started thinking they're being pranked by a villager, right? And they started running through names between each other. Who could this be? I'll leave the names out of it, but you know, they're talking to each other. Who could be doing this to tease us? Who would be pulling a prank like this? And Beverly's sister yells out, "Hey, I have a gun. Don't play games," real loud. And her sister was, according to what Beverly said, very, very loud with what she was saying. Well, right after her sister said that, they hear this weird, it was like a half mimic for a ptarmigan and a half a mimic for an owl. She said it was the damnedest, strangest sound, because they heard the weird ptarmigan kind of chirp sound that they make, but very loud, very obviously an imitation of it, and a bad one. And then right behind it, the imitation of an owl. Again, very loud, but a very bad imitation, right? So now they're fully intrigued, like, okay, someone is playing games with us. We should go. So they leave. They take the kids back. When Beverly gets back over to where there was a potluck going on and a family function, they were all telling, hey, there's weird whistling or whatever. One of the younger guys from the village comes over. We'll name him John. John comes over and was like, where is it at? And, you know, it's right up back over there, you know, by that berry patch. And John immediately said, oh, that's the hairy man that lives back over there. Everyone kind of chuckles, but one of the elders comes over and was like, in hushed tones, said, hey, we don't talk about that kind of thing out loud, you know. So according to what Beverly said, John goes, come on, I'll go with you. Watch, I'll show you. They always leave when you whistle back at them. Beverly's kind of intrigued, you know, but she was like, well, I got my 2-year-old. I'm not going with. So her sister goes, I'll go with you. We'll leave the kids here. We'll go with John. We'll see what this is about. So in case we're there again, we could whistle back. I want to see a hairy man. They were quasi taking it as, you know, we're going to go see the gorilla in the zoo kind of feeling about it. You know, there was no real critical thinking as far as should we, you know what I mean? And not to cast aspersions, everyone makes those, you know, kind of decisions without really fully thinking it through. So anyway, they go back with John. It took about 40 minutes to get back over there, because they, you know, getting someone to watch the kids and all that kind of stuff. So once they got back over there, there's no sign of nothing. They go about twice the distance they were towards that other tree line where the boys had stopped. They went about twice that distance, so they were a lot closer to the tree line. And John starts whistling out loud, right? He does a couple sharp whistles, then imitates a goose, and starts laughing and said, you guys already scared away the hairy man, right? And from what Beverly said, John had already shared with them that, oh, the hairy man always runs off. He always runs off. Every time I've seen him and whistled back at him, it's always run off. It's run away. So there, you know, he saw no reason to be scared of it, right? He saw it as more of amusement. So as he was explaining some of this stuff to Beverly and her sister, now this goose call that John had did was a really good one, when he initially did it. But it had been like a full minute since he did it, and off in the distance, they heard his identical inflection tone. It was identical to the goose call he made coming back at them, but it was further away. And so they all stand there and got quiet, and they're all looking at each other. Beverly said that within no time, this thing was back at the edge of the trees, just inside the trees, and imitated it again. And this time they were all looking that direction because they heard movement coming towards them. And it did it again. It imitated the goose call. And John started laughing and did a real sharp whistle himself. He used his 2 pinkies, He whistles real loud. And Beverly said when he did that, this thing went from kind of hunched to standing straight up. And she said it was, at that point, was taller than the 10-foot trees. And it looked like it was pumping itself up. Her words, not mine. Now, they're a lot closer this time. And this thing starts huffing and growling and making these god-awful noises. She said it sounded like a demon was coming out of it, right? So as they're watching this, they're in shock. Her sister has her pistol out. And John's like, don't shoot it, And her sister's like, I'm not shooting it. It better stay there. And starts yelling, you better stay there. You stay there. And this thing starts walking off towards their right and then back to the left, just inside the trees. And Beverly was like, let's get the hell out of here. So they're backtracking, and John said, I'll keep an eye on it. And so John is kind of behind them, and they're retreating, and her sister's holding her pistol, like, you let me know if it's coming, I'll shoot it, They get back over to damn near where they were when the kids were playing initially, and she spotted it, right? They stopped there, and they're looking back, and this thing had not stopped making these god-awful noises, walking back and forth. She said, when I asked her how far, what was the distance it was pacing back and forth, and she said probably about 50 feet that it was going, and then it would turn back, and the whole time it was doing this repetitive god-awful noises. She said it almost sounded like a demon chant, just using her words, and so they were kind of, it made no like truly aggressive, like coming at them kind of deal. And as they were sitting there watching this, another villager had come along and was watching with them, but all of a sudden they were startled because they didn't hear him come up because they were focused. The other villager that came up goes, holy shit. And it startled them, so they turn around. And when they all turn around and look at the other villager, this thing lets out this scream, right? And all of a sudden it got everyone's attention. Eyes are back over there. And the scream it was letting out, Beverly said, because she goes, I don't know the proper words for the noises, and I brought up air raid sirens and a woman being murdered and, various other things, a lion or a tiger growling and, these kind of things that help her, encourage her to, think of what it might best sound like. And her only response to that was all of those in one noise. And as it was screaming, it was coming towards us. Now, that's when her sister loses her shit. The other villager and John were talking to each other just past where her sister was. And once this thing was screaming and coming towards them, she said it wasn't very fast, but it was very methodical. It was coming quickly, but not running. It was just its sheer size. The fact that it was moving it was covering ground quickly. She said her sister immediately starts just winging shots that way, shoots over there like 2 or 3 times from what she remembers, and this thing immediately cuts off to their right, just right out into the wide open tundra, gets over, and all of a sudden there's a huge splash at the marsh, right, because it's swampy and there's a little bit of a pond back there with lilies and stuff. Big old splash, boosh. She said that once it hit the water, it sounded like the biggest belly flop you can imagine. It was just smack. It was loud. And this thing just disappeared in the water, and they got the hell out of there. So they go back to that function, and John and the other villager guy, they beat them there, and they were rounding people up, right? So they don't want me to share the village name, but if any of those villagers are watching this that went back to the pond, Beverly's confident that at least one or two watched the channel, and she asked that if they were there and they went back to the pond to share what they saw, because according to the group that went back over to the pond, this thing came out of the water, saw the group of people, jumped back in the water, and was gone for a while. A while later, they saw air bubbles and stuff, and a beaver came up. Now, there hadn't been beavers near this village in forever, because they just don't last, right? So this big beaver pops up, swims around, smacks its tail a couple times. She said, according to what was shared with her, because she didn't go back, the beaver smacked its tail like 3 times in a row. Smack, 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 and then dove under, right? Disappeared. There's no beaver dam nearby. There's no sign of chewed trees. So they don't know. They assume this thing shifted into a beaver. But again, I wasn't there. She knows for a fact some of the people that were there may watch this channel. And if you have seen that and you were part of that, shoot me an email.